But anyway.
Next was a romantic drama by Tears of Endurance. You have it right there?
I do actually.
There you go.
Can you see that one?
Sure,
probably,
beautiful.
This book is probably it made me cry when I wrote this. It's a bit of a slow starter, but it's meant to be a slow starter because it really, really hits you hard later on down the line. And it's a very traumatic story. It's a romantic drama, and it's called Tears of Endurance for a reason. It's a bit of a tryst. So it's there's a woman called Ariana who's she owns her own art gallery, and she's just separated from her partner, who ripped her off completely and took all the business money from the gallery, which belongs to her, and left her brokenhearted. So she's kind of starting over again and having to borrow money to, you know, keep a little small art gallery going. Ben, the other protagonist, who lives the other side of the city, he's just woken up from a coma. And he'd had a terrible accident on site. He's a structural engineer, but he's a top structural engineer. He's like one of the partners in the firm. And he decided he was going to go on site one day. He wanted to check out how it was coming along, and took it upon himself to climb up some ladders, and he wanted to get to the top, and obviously it all went terribly wrong. And 2 months later, he wakes up in a coma. He wakes up from a coma. They had to induce him because he had so many broken bones and ribs and everything, and punctured lung, which creates a lot of research when you bring medical issues into your writing. I spent months having to research medically induced comas and all sorts of different things to get all the medical jargon correct. So anyway, so he can't go back to work for about 12 months. He's taken sort of some sabbatical leave, and then he sees an advert for an opening, a showing at a gallery in this little town. So he goes and he meets Ariana. Now, they instantly hit it off, and you think, oh, I know how the story's going to go, but oh, no, you don't. It goes in such a different way, because yes, they fall in love and they have this lovely relationship, and then he's been having issues and he's getting a bit dizzy, and he's got a beautiful dog, and his dog's picking up that something's wrong with him. So this is months into their relationship, a few months into the relationship, a lot of little things happen and stuff, but I'm just getting to the core bit. So then he goes to have an X-ray, and he's diagnosed with a tumor. And on the day that he's diagnosed with a tumor, he doesn't want to tell Ariana because he was hoping to propose to her. She finds out she's pregnant with their first child, because they were about to move in together the following week. But the same day, she finds out she's pregnant, and he finds out he's got a terminal tuna, a terminal. I've been talking too long. Obviously, right. It's terminal basically, yeah. And he doesn't tell her. So Tristan, the brother of Ben, who is absolutely idolizes his brother and adores Ariana, and you know, and even so you still think you know the story's going, but not quite. So it's, I don't want to really tell you too much, otherwise I don't want to give away the punchline.
Of course not. Yeah.
In case anyone's listening, but so you get to that point. So you exactly. So hopefully there'll be lots of. So anyway, you know, it's a very, very heart-rending story. It will tug at your heartstrings. If you read the reviews, you just have to go and read the reviews on Amazon. Bring the tissues. I went through a box of tissues. I was, you know, it broke my heart. But it really is a heart-rending story. But it does have a happy ending. But it's not the. It does have a really satisfying outcome, but not the one people are expecting or think. So that's the twist in the story throughout the book. And it's a 2-book series. So you have Tears of Endurance, and then the second book in the series is Whispers from Heaven, and it's a 2-book series which completes the story. But it's tragic, it's beautiful, it's it evokes every emotion you can imagine through various stages of the story. And again, I've drawn on, you know, different types of pain in my own time to relay and ensure that that's what's coming across the page to the reader when they're reading it. But it's a tragic story, and it happens every day, you know. Couples get together and they find they have cancer or something, and their relationship is tragically cut short, and you know, so that's kind of my real life element that I've inserted into the story, because I know this, you know, I've known this happen, and I thought I like to make my stories kind of relatable. That's the word, relatable.
Forbidden.
Pardon? Forbidden.
Novel.
That was inspired. Yeah, that's a
novel, and I'm saying here, it's by Hamilton Sharma, Volume 1.
It's the Hamilton Sharma
and you have Forbidden and Dissolution, right?
It's a 3-book series. It's Forbidden, Disillusion, and then the one that I published this year is the 3rd in the trilogy called Unforseen.
Oh, I see.
It's the 3rd. I only published it in March, so that was the final book in the story. Now it's quite a controversial book, that one is. It's an interracial romantic story about an Indian man and a white woman, and it's set in modern times, but the families of each protagonist are extremely strict within their religious beliefs. So each one of them, like there's a Christian family, there's a Hindu family, but they are old school Christian, extremely strict, and old school Hindu. So the 2 families completely disagree with this pairing, even though it's in modern days, and they're grown-up adults, you know, they're sort of between 25 and 28, 29. And they met each other through work. They're a big corporate company, and they're both climbing the ladder in their corporate world. So they start seeing each other, start dating each other privately, and they fall irrevocably and irreparably in love with one another. But it doesn't go down very well with the families. Now, Jess's family is the white Christian girl, is very, very quite wealthy. They own their own business and everything. And she's got her mother has got her fingers in a lot of pies. She's a bit of a character, Jess's mother, actually. She's a very, very tough businesswoman. She doesn't suffer fools gladly, and she can make things happen. If she wants something done, it gets done, you know, and she has people to do it for her, you know, do her dirty work for her. And that comes into play quite a lot in this story. But then on AJ's side of the family, he has a brother, and his brother's called Shandon, and he is completely against mixed race marriages. mixed race relationships. He believes people should, you know, should stick to their own. But Jessie and AJ are having none of this. They know they're in for a rough ride with their families, and they believe they can bring them round. So in this story, there's near death. Jessie nearly loses her life and is pushed over a cliff, and she's hanging on barely. There's death. There's God, all sorts of things you wouldn't believe.
Don't
Almost
give
a bit
it
like,
away. Don't give it away. Though.
No.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of suspense and intrigue, and in that story, because even in this modern age, I mean, you know, it does happen, and you know, people, like I said, people either like it or they don't. But it's a story of modern times, but with old-fashioned families. And it's gone down really well. It has been, that's been received really, really well, and I've been very happy with the reviews that have come in for it. And you know, I wrote a 3-book series, and it's doing okay. It's doing fine. The readers seem to love it, so I must have done something. I think what I did with that, I did my research. I have friends of all cultures. You know, I have a multicultural family. I have friends of all cultures, and so I know a lot about different religions and different cultures and one thing or another. And it's knowing that inspired me to write the story. However, I had to do a lot of research, and you know, I interviewed a few people, and there's certain blogs, you know, where people in certain families, they can go and air their sort of feelings anonymously, because they're too scared that their families will find out they're dating someone they shouldn't be, and all that kind of thing. So I kind of slipped into that world and got to know a lot about what happens here and what happens there, and you know, what the do's and the don'ts and the wheres and the wherefores, and put it all together, and just made sure I got my knowledge correct, you know, so that because the worst thing you can do is mess up, you know, religion in a story. So although religion doesn't, it's not the main focal point of the story, this relationship is the main focal point of the story, and how narrow-minded people can be, and what it takes to open up that tunnel and make them see full vision, not just, do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of there's a big moral to that story, and I really did enjoy writing that story, but it took me off path to what I would normally write. But I wanted to test myself. I felt that I needed to push myself a little. I was very comfortable with my writing, and I was, you know, I knew what I liked to write, and I did it quite well. And I just thought, you know what, I need to do something, take myself out of my comfort zone, try something different. So that's where Forbidden came in, and it was very enjoyable. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
The Poppy Fields, there are 2 or 3 volumes.
Oh, that's another trilogy. It's a 3-book series.
Okay.
There's books 1, 2 and 3. Another heartbreaking story. I put my readers through hell, you know, not to mention my characters. Goodness me. So this story, it's a kind of like a love triangle story, but it's not the kind of love triangle story that you think, you know, somebody's seeing somebody else's, but it's nothing like that. Basically, you've got 3 characters and 2 females, and then you've obviously got the main male character, and their lives are brought together by the most horrific circumstances. It's the most awful situation, the most horrific situation. It is a military one as well. It's a military story as well, but it's not just based in Afghanistan. There's a lot of, you know, PTSD involvement. There's a lot of time at home and struggling, and then Q bringing babies with a congenital heart disease, and it just spirals into an emotional abyss for a while. But as with all my stories, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel somewhere, but there is a lot of tragedy as well. There's an awful lot of tragedy, and there's a beautiful love story. There's a beautiful love story thread through all of my novels, weaved in with suspense and intrigue and real life drama. So you know, I've always said, if you look anywhere for a category, a book category, because I've attached the book categories to my books that I feel is the closest I can find to my stories, but they don't really always match. It's like Tears of Endurance, I've had to put it down as romantic suspense. You know, if you're on Amazon or whatever, there are missing categories that need to be implemented. I have wrote to them actually and asked them about this before and said, you know, you need a new category. I need this category for my work, and it's romantic drama, because there's a lot of drama. It's more drama, you know, like BBC dramas in the UK. And they're so twisty and turny and full of suspense and intrigue. And there's all this drama and family drama and relationship drama and everything. So I've always said that a lot of my books should be classified romantic drama, but I have to go under romantic suspense, which is very close. It's very close. But this particular book is definitely romantic drama. And I often, like I said, I have to put it under other categories sometimes, like romantic suspense or contemporary romance or women's fiction, and I want to put it under romantic drama. So Amazon, if you're listening, please take notes. Okay, so that's Tears of Endurance, and there's obviously you know, with that one, and like the Poppy Fields, there are other books in the series, but that the Poppy Fields itself is a military romance trilogy, and it is again like a romantic military suspenseful drama would correctly categorize that trilogy, but it's got accurate knowledge of the Afghanistan war, because I wrote Broken Wings, A Soldier's Fear, and which I'm sure you'll mention in a minute, and the Poppy Fields are all military stories, and they were based around the time of the Afghan war, you know, when the soldiers were starting to leave Afghanistan as well, and they were being sent home after a lot of tragedy, you know, and we were having a lot of soldiers sent home in boxes, and they were coming home wounded terribly and all of that kind of thing. So there's a lot of facts about the Afghanistan war throughout these stories, told through the eyes of the soldiers when they're having to tell their partners, you know, we're going here, we've got to go to Afghanistan, and things are bad there. I'm being deployed for 6 months, and they write letters to each other in my stories. So he's explaining what things are like over there, and you know, explaining to her, you know, they had to sweep the roads for IEDs, and or he lost a friend today, his truck got blown up, and there's a lot of detail about actually what, you know, sort of did go on, what did happen. And I spent a lot of time, sort of, I'd say 3 to 6 months, researching absolutely everything that I possibly could, talking to ex-soldiers as well that have come home, and going onto blogs and websites and all sorts of things to get an accurate account of what life was like for a bomb disposal soldier in Afghanistan. Yeah.
You just described the soldier's fear and broken wings.
Yeah, that was Soldier's Fear and Broken. Yeah, so there was a lot of military research, RAF, and you know, because you have to get your information right. It has to be correct, because just the story might be fiction, but the war, because, you know, I've mentioned before, I'm a current knowledge junkie, I'm a current affairs junkie, and so I'm always following what's going on around the world and whatever war's going on as well. And so I based my stories at that time with what was going on in Afghanistan. A Soldier's Fear was based on what was going on the Sinjar Mountain with the Kurds. You know, and I follow all these stories, and the facts and the knowledge base within the stories about those wars are 100% correct. I've taken that, you know, I've got that information, I've researched it, and I've obviously, like I said, I interview soldiers who have been there, and I'm very thorough. So because I don't think there's anything worse than to read about something and it's just factually so wrong. oh no, that would be awful. So I do like to get my information right. So yes, there's that covers all my military work, really. So it's all romantic military. They are definite military romances, but there's a lot of understanding about, you know, the people who are left behind, waiting and anxious for their loved ones to come back home. Do they come back home? Some of them go missing in action. I've done that a few times. You know, I just send them off and they don't come back, and they just turn up 2 years later or something. You know, you can do that. So the great thing about being a storyteller, you know, you can add anything, any twist you want, but I do try and keep the actual facts of the situation real. Yeah.
Midnight musings. You have 300 thought-provoking quotes. That's
Yeah.
You told me about that, and
yeah.
And then you have Finding You.
Finding You, yeah, that's a romantic suspense novel. It's kind of got a slight thriller element that threads through the story. You know, it's about these two characters, a very wealthy man, very handsome, tall, wealthy man called Noah Ainsworth. And he has been hiding away in his ivory castle, which is just his mansion out in Warwickshire. I actually set it not far from where I, you know, used to live. It's very nice out there. And it's a beautiful sort of mansion, very well guarded. And he's an entrepreneur, and he's 29, 30 years old. And he hasn't been in a relationship or even near a woman in 3 years. And the reason for that is because his last girlfriend tried to kill him and ended up in a psychiatric ward. And, you know, he hasn't gone near one since. He's just like done with women. So he's just steering clear. And then you have Eden Marshall, who's been in a bad situation herself. She's an editor for a very, very prestigious house and home magazine. And she gets promoted within this magazine, and her boss asks her to, well, they land an interview with Noah Ainsworth, which is really rare. They've been trying to get his house for about 12 months. So they're finally getting to look around Noah Ainsworth's house and interview one of Britain's most top 50 bachelors. That everyone's dying to know more about this mysterious guy that hides himself away. So anyway, Eden never heard of him before, and you know, everyone around town, you never heard of Noah Ainsworth? How can you not know who Noah Ainsworth is? So she looks him up and she's like, oh, you know, he's okay. So she preps for the interview, and she's warned in advance that if he doesn't like the way it's going, you'll be out and we'll never get his business again. He's very, very tough. So she goes to interview him. And they've both got a dog, and the dogs fall in love, actually. No, the dogs really do. No, well, not like, you know, the dogs meet by accident. They take the dogs for a walk at separate times, but they're running off into the cornfields, and they come out together. And Eden's like, who's this dog? What back? You know, and her dog looks at her, and then this man appears from out the cornfield, and it's the night before her interview, actually. So that's how she first meets Noah Ainsworth, and sort of, he's a bit disgruntled, you know. He's like, your dog just came running around like a nutcase on my land and running through my cornfields. And Eden's like, I'm so sorry. And then she recognizes him because she'd done a research on him earlier in the day, and realizes it's the mysterious Noah Ainsworth. She went, oh, she holds a hand out, extends a hand to shake his, and says, I'm Eden Marshall. I'm booked to interview you tomorrow. And he just grunts and looks at her and calls his dog to his side, and off he goes. So that didn't go very well. And then obviously it kind of carries on a bit like that. She has to interview him several times because the house is so big. They take pictures, but they're not allowed on the top floor. The top floor is like this big secret. And eventually both of them aren't interested in either one of in each other, but they do kind of start being brought together because of the dogs. You know, the dogs really take to each other and they want to see each other more. So, because every time, you know, she goes out for walks, she often sees him going out for walks. They go to the same place and the dogs just go mad for each other. So they're forced to kind of allow them to have some time together to play and run the fields. And eventually they let their guards down, they become close, and again, they'll fall in love and whatever. But then, which this isn't a twist or anything, so I don't mind talking about. A bit later down the line, Eden Marshall gets kidnapped. Yeah. Somebody's not happy that she's caught the heart of Noah Ainsworth. And she gets kidnapped and she gets buried alive. It takes quite a dark turn and quite a lot of dark events happen then. So it's not a very easy entrance into their new relationship, and a lot of horrible and tragic things happen before, you know, they get anywhere near where they want to get to a normal happy life. So yes, and it's because there's a dark secret attached to the woman that almost killed him several years back, and it's, you know, so obviously it's all intertwined, and, you know, it all comes out at various stages throughout the book. But I think the most shocking thing is who attempts to kill Eden is not who you expect in the story, and that's kind of where the twist comes in, because it leads you down a path where you could think, as you're going along and the police get involved and all the usual stuff, it could be any one of 2 or 3 characters, and it turns out to be somebody completely different. So yeah, but that's going down really well. I did a small promotion on that recently, a very small one, just before Christmas, I think. Yeah, it's done really, really well. I've had a lot of good reviews coming in for that, so I was quite happy about that.
Soon to be released titles. I'm looking at Full Circle. Is that out yet?
No, that's not out yet. That's one of my work in progress. It should be. It's been delayed. I don't think I was expecting the pandemic to take up so much time. So there was a couple of delays. As Full Circle has been pushed back. It was supposed to have been released actually Christmas, but it's been pushed back now to the summer. But before the summer, I have another book coming out called Amnesia, which comes out in about April. Yes, I've got 2 books coming out this year, but Full Circle was delayed. It was actually due out a few months ago. You know, so I think 2020 completely threw me, and everything slowed down in the writing side a little bit because, like I said, like everybody else, when you're working from home and, you know, your children, you're homeschooled and your husband's working from home, you have to just like allow them to do what they need to do and sacrifice some writing time. So I kind of buried myself in projects like I upcycled practically the whole house, to be honest, painted everything in sight, redid the whole garden. You know, I was just totally in loving all these projects that I was immersing myself in and not writing quite as much as I was. So yeah, hence Full Circle delay.
I don't have it. I don't have it in the as listed in the Orthopedia.
Yeah,
but I have
Amnesia.
I have Unforseen though.
Oh yeah, Unforseen is the 3rd book in the Forbidden series.
Oh, is it? So that's okay.
Yeah,
I got it.
That's the one. Yes, that was the 3rd book because that was the last full novel I released, which was in March. So, and then in August I released a poetry book. So yeah, that's only been out since March, and that completes the Forbidden trilogy. And then obviously I've got Full Circle, which is delayed, and Amnesia. And those are my next 2 books coming out. But Amnesia, I'm further ahead with that one. So that's coming out in April. That's actually sort of a psychological thriller. It was very interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting to write. And it's quite dark. and it's just got so many twists and turns, and I really enjoyed writing that. So that was something really juicy to get my teeth into. Again, I was pushing the boundaries of my normal genres, and I thought, because I do like reading psychological thrillers, and if I'm watching a movie, I do like a good psychological thriller, and I thought, let me give it a go.
So you're writing full time, actually.
Oh, I write full time. Yes, lovely. I'm a full time writer. Yeah, there's no way I'd be able to publish several books a year if I was working outside of sort of my writing. So yes, I'm full time, and I enjoy every minute of it. And I think I'll be writing like Barbara Cartland until I'm 96. I hope so, because it's not just a job. It's not a job. It's not a job to me. I would do it if I wasn't.
Make it 116.
Yeah, 116 would be fantastic. I can't imagine ever stopping.
For people that are watching, how would you describe yourself in 30 seconds?
Okay. Impulsive, passionate, emotional, exceptionally loving and caring, a great animal lover. I love animals. I really do love animals. They feature quite often in my books. I'm loyal to the core. When you have a friend in me, you have a friend for life. Yeah, and it's all about the writing. And my daughter is the greatest love of my life, and she changed everything about me when she was born. She's definitely the greatest love of my life. She's made me who I am today, and everything I do for her. I think that sums me up perfectly. Yeah.
Terrific. Do you use, and that's a general question I go for this, is usually people today, writers, they use a computer. Are you using a computer, or you're a pen lover? You write by pen? Both.
Yeah, I've both. What I tend to do, I've always got like a notepad near me, and when I say both, all my scribblings and my notes and my ideas, and I've got a pen by my bed, and I do like to use hand, longhand. I just love the feel of a pen in my hand, and the writing, and I like to read back on all my scribbles and notes and everything, and then I tend to apply it to my first draft. But I'm always kind of working with the two, so I will be typing around my laptop. I've got a laptop, that's where I write all my novels on my laptop for sure, but I've always got a pen and paper, so I'm always scribbling. Now my poetry, that's just for notes for my novels, but with my poetry, I nearly always write my poems by hand in like a journal, and then I transfer them into files and type them up into Word on my laptop, but I'll always write them down. And I've got journals everywhere, filled with poetry, because I think it's a beautiful thing to have handwritten poetry.
Oh, words have to be caressed.
Yeah, they do, and I do have my journals which are filled with poetry, and I do that all the time. I've got them everywhere, and there's something I want to leave for my daughter as well. All my books she will have all that, but with my poetry, I want her to have the handwritten originals of every single poem I've ever written, and it'll be a huge bulk.
Very important. Manuscripts are very important. If you
they are
even copy the books and put them in writing, handwriting.
Absolutely, because it all goes to my daughter, and it'll be a nice legacy for her. So one day.
Do you write alone or in public? Ever in public? Ever going out like Hemingway in a corner cafe and pick up a seat there? Sometimes.
I have done. I quite often take my laptop away with me, but when we go away on holiday, my husband, he'll leave your laptop behind. This is a family holiday. Come on, give us a break. But sometimes I do take my laptop with me. I have been known to take my laptop to the Lake District or the Peak District, and I've sat outside with a glass of wine and I'm typing away, surrounded, by people just to enjoy it. It's exactly how it sounds, very scenic and green, and it's the perfect environment for a writer. If you've ever been to the Lake District or Peak District, you'll know what I mean. And if not, if you come to England, you must go. It's beautiful. So yes, I've sat in a beautiful restaurant outside in the gardens with my laptop typing away several times, and it is lovely. But most of the time, I write alone in solitary confinement of my own making at home. Yeah.
What's your biggest oversight or blunder? Let me put it that way.
What's my biggest blunder?
What's your biggest blunder?
Gaff. My biggest gaffe. Oh my God. My biggest gaffe, honestly. When you watch this back, you might find one or two. That might go down as one of the tops. No, one of my biggest gaffes, I'll tell you what my public gaffe was. It was about the 4th or 5th interview I had, when I was, not interview, when I was doing the paper review for BBC WM. And I'd got the stories mixed up. I picked up a story I shouldn't have read. I shouldn't be reading out. That was a no-no, because all the facts hadn't been got together. And I started reading it, and the presenter behind me going like this, and I'm like, anyway, swiftly moving on. There's something I'd rather talk about more, and I just completely, as if I hadn't even been talking about it, and moved on. But inside that newsroom, it was a big blunder. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'd made what other mistake? I'd made one other mistake once. And in that whole 12 months period, I called somebody by a different name.
Greatest satisfaction. You call them a different name.
I know. My greatest satisfaction, without a shadow of a doubt, 100%, was giving birth to my daughter and being a mother. Yeah, and being my mother. You wrote that down. Is that what you wrote down?
Oh yeah, I wrote that down. I wrote the answers down. I knew it.
Listen, you got some telepathy going on here. My daughter is everything to me, and
because I feel the same way. Obviously, it's just
obviously because yes, you have a daughter too.
Yeah.
And she.
Yeah, and I lost one.
Oh no!
And that's why
I can't even begin.
It's fantastic. Anyway, but
I can't even begin to imagine that. But my daughter is. I think for me, I can't deny this. I occasionally. Oh, it's lovely sometimes just to have a little piece of a childhood I missed and live vicariously through my daughter. Seeing her with her best friends from primary school because they've all gone to school together.
That is the happiest moment.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got the same friends that she's had from primary through to junior school, and she started grammar school. She passed her 11 plus and started grammar school in September, and a lot of her friends from the primary school that she went all through the young school with to secondary school, they're all together. I used to imagine what was that like to have the same friends and, live in the same street or house and have all that familiarity around you. And, you call your childhood home and your childhood friends, and she's now in grammar school with them. And, she's during the pandemic, they FaceTime or sometimes they're gaming together, they're into, they've got all their gadgets and what do you call it? There's these games called Bloxburg and Mario, and I don't know, I'm not a gamer, so I don't really know, but we've got them for her, but I haven't got a clue what she does on them. But she can link up with all her friends in there, and they've got these little chats and stuff, and it's absolutely amazing. And you know, she's been up there tonight, actually. You haven't heard her, but she's been so good. I sent the family upstairs, so my husband's in one room just catching up with some work, and my daughter's been on FaceTime and playing games in the other room with her best friends. And you know, and they've just been so good. But she's amazing. She's made me a better person. She's made me believe in myself in ways that I never did before. And I've enjoyed every moment of being a mother. It's just the most amazing. You're doing everything you're doing. You're not just doing for yourself anymore. You're doing it for them. And everything you do.
Yes.
100%. It's yeah, I could talk about it forever, but yeah, she's everything to me, everything.
What is one thing that no one knows about you?
One thing that no one knows about me. Oh my goodness. One thing I'll tell you something funny. There's one thing nobody knows about me this evening. In preparation for my interview, I thought, if I'm going to read a poem, I'm going to have my nails on display, and I've got short nails. So I started putting on some false nails. Little expose. This is a little expose here. However, I ran out of glue 15 minutes before we were due to come on, so I've got one hand with nails and another one with none.
Show them both.
I thought, it doesn't matter about this one, because I'm only going to be showing this one when I'm reading the poem. So that was a funny one. Another thing people don't know about me. Everyone will be shouting no way at this. Everyone who knows me in the author world, my friends, everybody, they meet me, they listen, you know, once they get to know me, they think I'm fun, I'm an extrovert, and I'm not shy, and I am the total opposite inside. It's really weird to explain, and people just don't believe it, because I can keep a conversation going for hours, and I can talk to anybody about any subject, and I can be the life and soul at any party, but inside, quite often, I love my own company. I'm really comfortable with my own company, and I do get very, very nervous, and I do get that feeling of shyness and introversy at times that I can't explain, and I've never met anyone who believes that. But that is something about me that is 100% correct. And you know, I think I'm an introvert wrapped inside an extrovert, if that makes sense. A bit of both.
Any regrets?
Any regrets? Oh, I've often asked myself this question, because if I'd regret anything, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now. I think every step that I've taken in my life, good or bad, has led me to my husband, my daughter, and to my life as it is right now. Any path that I would have regretted or taken differently, then I wouldn't be in this happy place right now. I wouldn't have my daughter and my husband, and I could be anywhere doing anything else, probably equally as happy, but not where I am right now. So I don't think I regret anything, if I'm really honest. Not the bad things and not the good things. And I think I try and everything bad that happens, I find a positive spin to satisfy myself, to be honest. And I always think that out of something, darkness always needs light in the end. You know, the moon, the sun, one goes down, one rises, and all that. So I don't think I really do have any regrets. I would have regretted not publishing my works if I hadn't have done that. I think that was the only thing I would have regretted. But I don't regret anything else at this point in my life. I don't think I regret anything. I think everything I did was a journey that I was on and I needed to do. You know, So I followed my steps and it led me here. Some steps were great and some were hard work.
Wonderful.
It's the best way I can put it. Yeah.
We talked about the happiest moments, and how about the saddest moment in your life?
Well, there was 2 sad moments. One covers my entire childhood, to be honest. But mainly being separated from my siblings and being all taken into different children's homes, never to be seen again. One of the saddest moments of my life, and probably I'd never felt so entirely alone. And I can still remember that feeling today. It was a horrible, horrible feeling. I'll never forget it. And then another moment that was probably my saddest moment was my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter. She had very bad child asthma.
Oh.
And she was very bad child asthma. And she's grown out of it a lot now. She still has to use an inhaler, but she runs the sports and you'd never know she had it now because she's got very, very mild. She's growing out of it. But when she was young, she was in and out of the hospital a lot. And I remember one evening, she had such a bad attack of asthma. I was so scared. And she ended up in the children's ward, the hospital. And I just remember we were sat in the hospital all night and they couldn't get her breathing under control. They put her on a monitor. She couldn't have even been 2. She wasn't even 2. She's about 18 months old. And she was 18 months to 2 years old. I can't remember. They had to put on this breathing thing, and she was covered, and she was on this monitor all night, and we just sat there all night. And I swear it was the longest night of my life because she was obviously in the critical ward, and we was just watching her chest rise and fall, rise and fall. And I was literally counting each breath. And if one even seemed slightly out of sync or it took too long, I felt it took too long to cut. That's how obsessed I became with her breathing, just watching her chest rise and fall until they took that machine off. It was that was a very close call that night. It was such a bad attack and made me realize how bad asthma is when you see your own child struggling to breathe, gasping for air. And being basically kept alive by a machine for 24 hours. It was the worst night of my entire life. I've endured many things, but that was the worst thing ever. She'd never had such a bad one since, but I think 2 or 3 times she'd been in and out of hospital with asthma, but never so severe. And now she's practically growing out of it now. She uses the preventer. It's a brown 2 inhalers, but she uses only the brown one most of the time. Every morning she takes a brown inhaler, which is a preventer. She rarely has to take the blue one. So yeah, it's I think by the time she's 18, she'll have probably completely grown out of it by then. But there were some difficult times when she was younger, and we had to be really careful because she was so energetic as well. She just wanted to run around everywhere. She was born with trainers on, I swear to God. She just wanted to run all the time. And, she'd get out of breath quite quickly, and it would set her asthma off. And, but we didn't stop her doing anything. She carried on. We just let her be. She's a child, and we just have to be careful and keep her breathing under control because we got taught a great deal. The nurses were actually wonderful. The asthmatic clinic was amazing, and we learned how to get her breathing under control when it's almost at its worst, and all the tricks and all the tricks of the trade basically to temper down the breathing and all the things you can do before you even go to hospital that we didn't know at the time of her first attack, because we didn't know she had asthma until her first major attack. And that was the scariest thing. And then obviously you learn a great deal, and you learn how to recognize when an attack's coming on. I used to be able to see it coming like that. Honestly, I was like a hawk. I don't think I slept properly until she was 3. And then like I said, it got easier and easier. But I had some scary moments, and on that night, that was one terrible night. And I think any parent would feel that, because you're just not sure what the outcome's going to be when it's that bad. And it was that bad. It was frightening.
What keeps you up at night?
Everything. My mind is so busy, Chris. It's so busy, it won't shut up. There's so much going on all the time. I've got characters talking to themselves. I've got job lists going on. My mind's just very busy and very active. And, I quite often go to sleep late, get up early. I'm not adverse to an afternoon nap for an hour if occasionally, but I am a night owl. And I find it very, very difficult to clear my mind. I'm always thinking about something, the next book, the next story. I've always got another story lined up before my next one's finished. I might be thinking about marketing, promoting, the next thing, where to go now and what to aim for next, plotting, planning, characters, who shall I kill off today? So it's just a mind of life going on. There's a whole world in here, just like so busy. It doesn't give me a break.
Yeah, we're Sagittarius, we'll always say. Yeah.
See, do you know, funny you should say that. Every Sagittarian that I've met have said exactly the same, right. And I think, yes, that is the way.
Are you afraid of anything?
I'm not afraid. I'm not just saying this, but I'm absolutely not afraid of anything except one thing. And that is big, ugly spiders. Not the little ones, but the ones with fat, hairy bodies and great big, fat, hairy legs. I can't pick one of them up, and I wouldn't remove one from the house if it was in the house. But you could put anything else in front of me. Heights, I don't know, abseiling. I've done it or tried everything. But I wouldn't go near a spider. No. Snakes even. I've held snakes.
Especially with the red mark on the back.
Oh, God, well, yeah, definitely. No, I don't. I just don't like spiders. Little ones don't bother me. And the ones with thin legs and tiny bodies, I'm okay with those. But it's just the great big ones, and they're so hairy. And
phobia. Me too.
Yeah.
I just don't.
But other than that,
I agree with him.
Yeah, but other than that,
my cats are okay with them.
Yeah. Oh, you've got cats.
Whenever. I got 4 cats.
Yeah.
We have 2 kittens.
Oh my God, I used to have
2 kittens,
you got kittens
now.
as well.
Yeah, 2 kittens and 2.
I used to have 3 cats. Yeah. When I lived when my first house that I bought alone, I moved myself in with 3 cats, 3 rescue cats, Pepper, Tiger, and Kitty.
People with cats do not need a friendly introduction. We're already friends. People with cats don't need a friendly introduction. They're already friends.
No, they don't. I absolutely loved my cats. And then when we moved into this house that we're in now, and obviously this is Lilia's childhood home, my husband, I didn't realise actually until we were getting married, but he's allergic. He's allergic to cat hair and dog hair. But he grew up with a dog, but he had to take tablets every single day because he didn't want them to get rid of the dog, and he loves animals, and so he suffered it, and his eyes just blow up so big. So what we do have, and what we have had, is 2 guinea pigs, which they passed away a couple of years ago now, and there's a cat on the street, a big black cat called Wolverine, and he's got a family across the street, but he lives between our house and their house. So when they're not home, he comes here and he cries at the back door, and he'll come in, have some food and have a doze for about 3 or 4 hours, and then when they're home, he goes back.
No vultures, no hawks around, nothing like that.
Actually, dangerous. There's a lot of fox. There's a lot of foxes around here.
Foxes, but the hawks or vultures.
No, we don't have hawks.
We don't have.
Oh, right, okay. No, we don't have hawks and vultures.
We have them here plenty, and very dangerous. Yeah, they pick
We
up.
have we do have a lot of foxes though. They just come into our gardens and everything. So, but Wolverine, who belongs to this other family across the road, further down the street, they've always brought him up as outdoor cat, so he likes to be, well, he seems to like to be outside, but during the winter times he does like to be indoors more. So he comes here and he says, I'm going to come into your house and have a snooze. And I think he can sense that I just, love cats and dogs and animals and everything. He jumps on my lap and he has a snooze. Sometimes I can be typing away on the computer, on the laptop. He just jumps on my lap and has a snooze. And then you'll hear a car a few hours later, if they've come home, and he runs straight to the door. You can let me out now. My family's home. So funny. He's so cute. He's very clever.
Very intelligent.
Yeah, very clever. He keeps me company sometimes during the day when I'm home alone and writing with my laptop. Yeah.
They don't forget that they are gods. The Egyptians used to.
They do. They are, yes. I remember. Yeah, Cleopatra loved cats, didn't she? Yeah.
Small and big cats.
Yeah.
What is God to you?
God, I think God is all encompassing, and I do believe in God.
But are you religious or spiritual?
Spiritual. I'm very spiritual.
Kudos. Bravo.
Yes, I've got Buddhas everywhere around me in this house. I'm surprised you can't see the big one behind me there. No, I am very spiritual.
Not organized religion.
No. Me and my husband are spiritual. Both of us are spiritual. And, we believe in a higher being for sure. It would be really ignorant to think that this was it. This world didn't make itself. People didn't just land here. It's, a man and a woman. It does take a man and a woman to make a man and a woman. So, something happened on a bigger scale that I don't think anyone will truly have the answer to while on this planet. But there's definitely, whether it's God, whether it's some sort of energy or higher source, but there's definitely
an intelligent universe.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I believe there's a God, but in what form he's in, who knows? I mean, it could be, there's so many. It's such an open-ended question, that is, Chris, to end with. That could take me on a whole nother journey with you, but we don't have the time.
That's what I said. It's going to be a next time.
There'll definitely have to be a next time on that subject. I could talk about that subject for hours. Actually, it's fascinating.
No, this is a fantastic subject to touch upon, and not an easy one, but it's got an infinite of possibilities. Energy doesn't dissolve. No. So, and there are two fantastic things to look at. One is trait, character, which just doesn't just happen. So character is very important.
No.
You have character in every single being, and it's different. First. And what is not different is that it's symmetry. Symmetry cannot be at random.
That's true.
So that also should make people think of.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there is existence.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Definitely. I can't understand anyone who'd think otherwise. I mean, all
I got friends testifying to that. They smoke ayahuasca or they drink it, however or DMT.
Okay.
They're very close to it. But yeah, it's called DMT. We have it in ourselves, in fact.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And there's such a powerful energy that,
but it's yes, it's very powerful, and they even make it more powerful. You could buy it off. It used to be over the counter. You go and purchase that. I didn't try any of this. I mean, I have my own thoughts that haunt me without them. Which is
yes, I can imagine.
So, yeah,
I can imagine.
but it's interesting, and
it is very interesting.
Well, like Christopher Hitchens used to say, and speaking about religion and all that, and when it came to free will, he said,
yes.
So he said, I have no choice. That's a good answer. It solves the problem right there.
It really does.
Can you read something?
Yes,
Have a closing.
I can.
And one more thing that I forgot to ask, and I want, what would be your best advice that you could give to the younger generation?
To the younger generation, step away from anything negative that will prevent you from walking forward, because so many things can hold you back, and life's complicated enough as it is. And you've just got to remove all the negative energy and believe in yourself and move forward. Follow your dreams. Believe you can and you will. Believe you can't and you won't. Life is short. Just go and do it.
Wonderfully said. Are we going to poetry?
I'm going to read.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Right, I'm going to read. It's called Sunset to Sunrise. It's called Sunset to Sunrise. She observed thousands of sunsets and always rose with the sun. Her tired feet journeyed for miles, but now she was spent and done. Her hands bore witness to her struggles, but never once did she complain. She would go down with the sunset and rise with the sun again. Her children passed before her, too weak to fight the fight. Her broken heart remained broken. She lost her inner sight. The dry terrain and empty wells finally brought her to her knees. A smile escaped and reached her eyes. Throw my ashes into the breeze. For my children, they await me. No need for you to grieve. My journey was an arduous one, but now I must take my leave.
How beautiful was that?
Thank you.
In which book is that?
Sonder.
Oh, it's coming. That's the next one coming. That is lovely.
Thank you.
Dawn, it was a grand pleasure.
Do you know, Chris, I enjoyed every moment of you've been an absolute delight to talk to. You're a lovely interviewer, and it was a delight. Lovely.
Thank you. And it was a grand pleasure. I mean, we're so much alike. I didn't want to bring this up, but it's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to a next time as well.
Yes, we would definitely do something again in the future. Absolutely. I really look forward to it. Definitely.
I tell everyone and you and all stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Likewise.
Until next time.